And the same is true here. Because when I ordered them on the internet, I just imagined them bigger. This is slightly oversized for a normal playing card, but very close to a playing card. In fact, I would be hard pushed to say that playing cards are much bigger than these. And it's my fault for not reading the dimensions of the product on the internet, isn't it? But I just look at them on the internet and then I order them and think, yes. Can't remember exactly how much they cost, but for the size of what we're getting here, I need something in shot so that you can see comparative size. No, they're not huge, are they? What else can I put in shot that's a comparative size that everyone has an item? You've all got one of these, so you know what they are. A coin would be good, wouldn't it? A coin in my pocket? No. I've got a guitar plectrum. There's a guitar plectrum. So, you know, guitar plectrum's little. These cards are not much bigger. You get the gist. The other thing that's glaringly obvious from the moment I've opened the box is that here, in this bottom left-hand corner, on every card, as I fan them out, is some sort of little nub of damage. I don't know what it is. It's in the cut. It's in the cut of the card, whoever's cut the cards. This one is actually slightly torn. You see that? I don't want to push it too much because I'll make it worse. But slightly damaged there. All of them. It's not a perfect cut. And we're not grading these. These are not collectible, like necessarily in that context. They're not Pokemon cards. They're not Magic the Gathering cards. But you just expect a better quality if you're spending money on something on the internet. It just feels like it's cheap. The weight of the card, again, is thin. I'm doing this, it's thin. I've had flyers through the letterbox that are thicker. It's quite thin. So that's a slight disappointment. Let's be honest, it is a slight disappointment. You know, you're looking to buy a collectible thing that you want to keep and it's nice. Then also, if I hold them like that, you can see the deck doesn't close properly. Because one of these cards is bent. You see that card is bent. So it's a shame. Because you want these to be nice. Like I can bend the whole, look how easily I can bend the whole deck. No resistance. It's very thin. Feels like a cheap set of playing cards in my hand. It doesn't feel like a... you know, even a set of playing cards that I would play with on holiday. You know, you go on holiday and you just buy a little cheap deck of cards at the airport. It feels cheaper than that. They even make a funny sound as they move against each other, which is not pleasant. So they're not ideal, they're not perfect in that sense. Like, in just giving you the lowdown from the high ground, Genius Invocation TCG off Amazon. Could do a proper Amazon review. It just, like, this is a cheap one, it feels like. It wasn't cheap on the old Amazon. Still paying money for this. Anyway, let's have a look at the art and the cards themselves. Because this is what's cool about them. It's a simple concept, I guess. And maybe this is a fake and not a real Genshin product. I don't know. It says Genshin Impact on it. But maybe this is just a fake. I don't know. But they printed right up to the border here. Like, it almost feels a bit weird the way the border finishes with these little corner cuffs. But there's a slight border around the whole card. They're not gold, they're not shinies, they're just, you know, that's sucrose from the Genshin TCG. So I'm thinking that, you know, an industrious person could go on the internet, look at the Genshin TCG pictures, and then go on a card shop site and print out. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like a leap to say that this could be created just by anyone. I could have done this myself, paid for better card stock. Do you know what I mean? Create my own Genshin TCG cards. Hello, my sister. You got me the stickers, look. You got me the stickers. They like the stickers. And there's not many in chat tonight because this is just a random late night one. These came in the post and I wanted to open them and look at them. So I was going to sit here and open them and look at them. I was going to just sit here and do it on the stream. We had a big stream today with all the people on the Chuffers stream. Hitting the numbers, starting to hit those numbers. It's going well. That's Sucrose. This is in the game, in Genshin Impact. You play... It's like, imagine, you know, Hearthstone's a better example. Imagine I've got some real Hearthstone cards. That's what I've got here. Now, in the game in Genshin Impact, you play collectible card game, TCG, and these are the cards you play with. So they're useless in real life. Like, these have no purpose, because maybe you can do the effects. Maybe you can play with it. They should write the effects on them. Maybe you could play with it. You'd have to have those dice as well. You have to roll dice, and that gives you your elemental charge. And then you spend your mana crystals. You could do it in real life, actually, couldn't you? Maybe you could. You need a lot more cards than this. But these are the main cards that I've got. Benny. That's Benny. Looks pretty good. Now, I will say what they've got right on this is the quality of the actual image on the cards is good. This is the card that was bent. And you can see it's come out of the box bent. You can see that crease down the middle of the back. I'm not pleased with that. But this is official. The Princess Deliver Ertung. She does that in the game. She does that. And she looks great. That's exactly as it looks in the game. The card in the game. I suppose because they've just copied and pasted it onto these cards. But no, it's funny to see something that you play with in the actual game in real life. It kind of is weird to me that I've got this on my desk in front of me. That's Collie. I call it E. Collie. E. coli. E. coli. Collie. It looks good. It's slightly bent as well, that card. Bit of a shame, but I'm not going to frame them or anything, so... That's Mona, the astrologer. I can't remember if that looks exactly like the card in the TCG. I think it does. I mean, I'm assuming they've got all these right. They've not just pretended that they look like the cards in the TCG. I think these are exactly as they are in the TCG. But it's kind of stylistically different, isn't it? I suppose the TCG is in the game, isn't it? It is slightly stylistically different. What's interesting about it, comparing it to the Genshin Impact Major Arcana, right, let me get a good one, is that these, like Zhongli there makes a good contrast. In the actual game, your characters are much, like there's much more beauty, the characters are much more like this Major Arcana, graphics and stuff. Like in the actual game, you see a lot more images like this. But when you're playing the TCG, they have gone for this. They use a sort of Chinese-style woodblock print artwork style for the TCG, which is the same artwork style as is used. Like when you're watching in the game, sometimes you'll get a cutscene and it'll be animated, and it's this really beautiful, like Chinese-style animation, somewhere between anime and a traditional Chinese style. And what's happening in the TCG and Genshin Impact world is that these characters that look like this, anime characters, are creating a card game. And like you can see, I suppose I want to contrast it with herself, isn't it? You can see the difference in the sort of slightly more realistic, I mean, it's an anime character, so it's not realistic, but the slightly more realistic look of this, and the shading and the stars and everything. Whereas here they've gone for a much more block, clear line. The face is probably more anime in this one even maybe than that one. But yeah, the TCG has its own look and style, and I think they've done a really good job on that. Look at that chuffer. What are they doing in here? I suppose they are in the TCG. That's a Mitterchurl. I just bash his head in. Don't really get to look at him much. I'm always bashing his head in. Smashing it off a thing. There's Jean. There's the difference, look. Jean Justice. She's got a sword in both, but in this one she's actually got the Favonian sword. The Knights of Favonian sword. And in this one she's got like a shining space sword made of wind magic. So this one's got the more realistic sword. I like the swords. She's sort of knock-kneed in this one, which is not very Jean. But this is the TCG card image, I guess. It must be. It's quite good. I'm not anti the TCG card image. I think it's quite good. Ka-ching. She almost looks like she's afraid in this one. I'm not so sold on that. She almost looks slightly afraid, but maybe that's how it looks in the TCG. Looks like they've drawn a leg funny as well. Just goes to nowhere. Is he in the... Yeah, he's in the CCG, isn't he? Sino. Little desert chuffer. Sino, he's alright in the desert because it's warm in the desert, but even in the desert at night time it gets cold, so he needs to have his jumper on. It's gonna get cold. Oh, now that's got a bit more pop, hasn't it? That looks nice. It's got a bit more pop. The owner of the cat's tail being pestered by cats. I mean, if you played the TCG, you'll know what these images look like, but it's interesting to see them in real life on a card, isn't it? There's Chongyun. Chongyun, he's an exorcist and also likes eating ice lollipops. Do you know your Magu Kenki from your Magu Kenko? That is the Magu Kenki. The colours do look a little bit washed out in this card. I expected to see a bit more vibrant of the turquoise, but because of the sort of wash out of the colours and the busyness of the card, you lose some of the detail. That's half of his face that's opening up there. He's in the process of swirling up this attack that he does. He's got his little thing on his face there. He hasn't even got a face. He's wearing a big helmet and he's got that on it. So to the uninitiated, like if I turn the card like upside down or something, you wouldn't know what it was. You'd be like, it just looks like a massive pattern. But I know it's the Magu Kenki, so I'm happy. There's Kaya. Just fuck him. He's a dickhead. He was really mean to Amber. When we first met him, he was really mean to Amber. Like, he was just like mean to her. And Amber's nice. There's no need to be mean to her. Oh, he's cocky, like flipping his coin, thinks he's cool. Just leave me alone. I didn't even level you up. That's how much I think of you. Diluc. This one's actually got the eagle on his hand, but it's not on fire. Everything else seems to be. It's weird to me. It's the TCG artwork. Like in the background and in this area here, it looks kind of more traditional Chinese art style. And then as we come up to the face in this area, it goes just into heavy anime. It's like a combination of the two. She saluted in this one. Barbara is the star of the show, in a way, but she never became the star of my team. In the game, you're intended to use Barbara as your healer. She's your first healer, and you get her. She comes on your team as part of the main quest. She's definitely guaranteed on your team. So most people would say, "Oh, we'll put Barbara in the squad. We need a healer." But I was fortunate enough to have. I think I had a Sayu at that point, and then I got Chi-Chi'd. So Barbara never got into my squad. But to a lot of people, she is a bit of a star. And in the game, she is a star. Like, she's like a little idol. She lives in Mondstadt. Most people who watch Genshin Impact know this. I'm just going to say it anyway. She lives in Mondstadt, and her big sister is Jean, the deputy in command while the Archmage is away. Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius. So Jean is acting Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius. So she's important. And Barbara likes singing songs and going around, and people get her autograph. Oh, it's about that Barbara. Can I have your autograph? Like, she's a little bit of like she's what a TikTok star would be if they had TikTok in Genshin Impact. And that card really, that is Barbara. doing a little dance with the magic and the stars. They've done a good job on that one. I know that makes everyone feel... If you play Genshin Impact, I know this card makes you feel bad, but, you know, we've all been there. This is the Oceanid. Only looking at it now, only now do I see it seems to have like this mop of hair created by water droplets, but we know the Oceanid. We know the Oceanid. Only a fool dares to trespass on the waters of Chainsaw. The waters of Chainsaw. And you go there and you're like, oh, this is interesting. This will be an interesting boss. And it says water can take on any shape. And it can take on any shape, but usually it takes on the shape of a fucking duck that kills you. 2 ducks and a fucking frog. And then they can do the birds. It takes on the shape of these birds. And they've included it in the cards. These cards, the birds are the worst. If you don't have Lisa, who can do electric magic from range, or Amber, who can do a fire bow, you know, if you don't have someone that can deal with those birds, then you're dead. And then if you can't deal with things quick enough, if you go in there under-leveled or underpowered, then she does an automatic... I call her a she. I think it's a she. The Oceanid does an automatic attack called Submerge, and whichever character you have active at the time is completely dead. So you better make sure you kill them quick. It's a bit of a DPS check in a way, but it's also... Like, it's not a war of attrition. You're not supposed to go in there and heal up and, you know, keep out of range and heal up. You're supposed to go in there and get smashing, because if you can't, submerge and you're dead. And then if you get... Because there's different things that she summons. They're all animals. They're like ducks and frogs. And they fuck you right up. What I tended to do initially was I went in with a frozen freeze. Because they're water. You can freeze them. But then it took a long time and I got submerged. Now, I don't have to do it anymore. I've had to do it over 100 times, I imagine. But I don't have to do it anymore. But now if I wanted to go in there, I just go in with either my full electric or my full fire crew, and we just go mad for it. Doesn't matter what you throw at me. You should see my full electric crew just absolutely exterminate the Oceanid. But it still gives me a bit of PTSD. Down the bottom even you can see the little froggy there and the little foxen. I don't know if a foxen is one that they do, but there's a froggy. And there's a crab down there. I don't want to draw attention to it because it annoys me, because they go around in circles around the outside of you and blow bubbles at you. Fuck you, Oceanid. Shouldn't have sworn. It's made me swear now. It's ruined this video with the Oceanid. There's Ningguang. Classic Ningguang. Look at that. That's such a good card. That is such a good card. It really completely nails Ningguang in so many ways. I bet you'd like to. Huh? No, but it's open to the sky at the top. Look, you've got these stars. She's sat at the top of the Jade Chamber, anyone that knows, but it's open to the sky, isn't it? You've got those stars. Like, we've got this position from down here underneath looking up at her. She's sat on this podium. The legs, big feature. The pipe that she's smoking just slightly out of shot. The elegant gloves in the hands. You know, very Ningguang that is. Very Ningguang. Elegance. That's who when I think of Ningguang, I think of, like, you know, an elegant, almost like a... She's a bit royal, isn't she? I guess regal elegance. And that's Ningguang, like, to a T. And the yellow colouring, like the yellow of the elements guide me. The yellow of the geo. But it feels like we're taking this shot in a sort of fire glow. Like, it feels like it's nighttime and you've got like a warm light emanating, possibly from fire that's illuminating her, you know, like, it feels right that it's so, like, the entire card is yellow toned. Like, they've gone heavy on that palette, but it doesn't feel wrong, does it? It feels like you're in a very warm, comfortable position, and you're looking up at her as well, so it gives her this, like, heroic, statuesque posture. That's my favourite of all the cards thus far, and there's even a little bit of red picked out in her hair there, the little tassel. It's interesting with these cards, because the rule of thirds isn't really being observed here, maybe, unless you're trying to draw attention to her boobas. Or maybe her knees and the legs are the main focus of the shot. It brings you up in here and round up to her face. Like, there's this flow to it. You would hope that maybe her face would be the main focal point, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's this part of these hips here that it's drawn your attention down to this swoop here. That's her bum, basically. Yeah. I don't think we've got a card for evening gown Ningguang, but if you play the game and you pay an extra £12, you can buy her an evening gown and she changes into a blue dress for you. This is Yoima, fireworks girl, with the cool leg and the leg guard. Like, compared to the Ningguang card, it doesn't have as much pop and pep, and like, I can see what they're going for. You've got the fireworks in the background. She's got the sparkler. She seems to be sort of in motion. The hair's flying out and stuff. She's fascinated by the fire. She's got a bit of an expression going on. But actually the character themselves is so much more exuberant, extravagant, and like a firework. Baby, you're a firework. Like, much more exuberant than this card is showing. This card is actually kind of toned down for her character, but fair enough. How did you get in there? Well, you're in the TCG, so you're going to get in there. Kill on sight, Fatui assassin, kill on sight, and if you've got if you know what's going on, you know, if you've got your wits about you, you wet them up, or you tag them with dendro, so that they, even though they do their disappearing stealth mode, they're still wet, so you can still see them, the like outline of them in wet, and then you go over and kill them even more. Kill on sight. It's not even a very good card of them, I don't really feel, because there's a lot more red and there's a lot more about them when you're fighting them. But I really do like the way we seem to be sort of in the desert, and overhead you've got this desert sky behind them, which really stands out really nicely, or sets them against it really nicely. Bad for Tui. They bring their knives and I have to kill them. Bad for Tui. There's one of my favourite characters, one of my mains, Wet Boy. It's quite an interesting card, actually. He's got these little wet birdies coming out from down the bottom. I don't know why. There are no birds involved in his... And there's birds at the top here flying away. There are no birds involved in his combat. They've given him a sword which none of us use. We just all bin that sword. We put that sword in the bin. He's got the flute in my run-through. Lovely sword, the flute. I really like the lining of his coat, which it's like it's lined with leeway. City of Contracts. Geo is a big feature of leeway. I really like the lining of his jacket there. Like the cut and the wave of it. The frills on the cuff. He looks even more sort of extravagant and, again, regal or princely in a way. His hair's a little bit cooler with a bit more movement in it than when he's hanging out with me. He's reading a book or a pamphlet in this picture. He's always got his nose in a book. Little book boy, little wet boy. So it suits him. We haven't got any elemental effects. Like, he stood in water, but it's actually kind of toned down a little bit in terms of effects and drama. He's reading his little book. You're a little boy, ain't you? You're going out there. Go on then, you boy. But yeah, he's one of my mains. I like Wet Boy. One of the things I like about him a lot is that he kind of feels like... Genshin Impact is a game about combat. It's an ARPG, and it's an anime game. And you're looking at all these characters with me here, like, you know, it's an anime game, but it's also a Chinese game. And at root in Chinese culture, the most dominant and popular form of entertainment in terms of genre.
It's raining again. I couldn't be happier. Swish and then whoosh.
I'm getting tippies while I'm now. I haven't got the tippy picture on. I've just got some tippies. What's happened? Hang on, let me. I didn't expect tippies. I'm opening up coffee.com for tippies. Lancashire Police send tippies. Cheeky choppers. I'm under arrest for chuffing on our poorly. That's from the other side of my work. It's not relevant to what we're doing now. They're tipping me while they think I'm offline, while they don't realise I'm here. Or maybe they're watching this and they're tipping me just on behalf of Lancashire Police while they're watching this. It's part of the Paul Ansell stuff that we're doing on the Super Chuffer channel. I'm very grateful. I have got tippies. I should put that coffee thing on, but this is just this. Anyway, this is Wet Boy. Yeah, I was saying China. So Genshin Impact is a Chinese game, and in China, one of the most dominant genres of culture is fighting and kung fu. Like some of the coolest people, like Bruce Lee, some of the coolest people have come out of that part of the world and made some really cool pieces of media because of that rich history of it in that part of the world. Kung Fu's, like India's got Bollywood, like China's got kung fu films, like the flight, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and flying around on ropes. And when you grew up watching that monkey program, and there was the monkey up the mountain, and if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I mean? And I think out of all the characters, in a lot of ways, Wet Boy, even though he's aristocratic, he also typifies this kung fu. Like kung fu is not, in a way he's reading his little book. Like kung fu's not about being the biggest chuffer and throwing your weight around. You can be reading your little book, and then when they come over and try and knock it out your hand, you break their arm. Little kung fu chuffer, and he's a little Wet Boy, little aristocratic, but he's got his little sword, and he's little chuffer and he's little badass. It's kung fu, sword play. The reason that the weapons are as they are in the game, swords, pole arms, bows, great swords, or whatever you call them, it's very, very symbolic of the kung fu arts. Kung fu, they use that pole arm, they use the swords, they use a big sword. Not so much on the big swords, but it's very kung fu. And I think Genshin Impact, it has that kung fu soul in it, and that's something I like about it. And his story as well, when he's dealing with Chang the Ninth up the mountain, it's very much a kung fu story, and the editing of it, the way it zooms in on the eyes, and they have tension and standoffs and little fights, it's a kung fu story, and it kind of alludes to that history. And it's in Liyue as well, and Liyue's the part in Genshin Impact that's a bit like China. So it really, really made me fall in love with some of the writing, the artwork, the art style. It brought it all together when it's like I was eating food, relating it to food. It's like I was eating a dish and everything was really nice, and then someone put some sauce on it and was like, oh, or maybe I found an ingredient in the stew, and I was like, oh wow, this ties it together perfectly. And that's what he did in the game, is his storyline, his part of the game, his world, alluding to this Chinese culture. Yeah, I was like, oh, it all makes real sense now. And people are like, it's a waifu game and it's a gacha game, and for me it's a kung fu game at heart. He typifies it the most. Good old Wet Boy. There's Razor. Can't formulate a sentence, lives in the woods. Eats wolf hooks, raised by wolves. No one has explained to me why he's got this massive electro power thing, but he does. He's got a vision. Actually, I've never learned why people in Genshin Impact... I should calm down, it's supposed to be a chill one for bedtimies. I've never learned why people in Genshin Impact have different visions but different skills with that vision. Why the vision brings this power. But he does. And it's a classic TCG card. The Genshin Impact TCG card, that's a classic. These are actually turning out really nice. The artwork side of the card is bang on. Noelle. She's just swung the greatsword, but she's giving you a little cheeky look. There's quite a lot of movement and style in this card. It's interesting with Noelle. If she is a Geo character, so they've gone with all that yellow, the background, the shield. You can just see the towers of Mondstadt in the background. The strength. But she's paired with this sort of rosy red. In the game it looks more red, but on this card it's more pink. She's paired with this rosy colour. And quite often, like if you're a fire character, you have red, and if you're a water character, you're blue. But she's a Geo character and she has pink. Pinky, peachy red. Cerise. She wants to be a knight of Favonius. And I hope she has that arc in the game. I hope they don't just keep her as a maid of Favonius. I think it would be really unfair, because she's been doing loads of cool stuff with me and my crew. She's even got pink hair, like purple pink hair in this card, which I never noticed before. I'll have to check in game whether she does. Boom, there's your Cocoa Goat. Which one do you want in shiny? Which one do you want in gold? The Cocoa Goat, please. She's got a bow. She looks to be betwixt. It's a really interesting card, actually. Oh, that's... Okay. I think this is her snowbally thing in the air here. I was going to suggest that could be the moon, but I think she's backed against water. There's lilies. And we know that she lives up the mountain, and there's that stone piece. So she's up the Adeptal mountain where we meet her, up the Adeptal bit where we had to do the food and put on the... we had to put on a meal for the Adeptus and encourage them out. She's up there. And it's a strange angle on it because we're looking down on her. So you're seeing all that pond behind her. Where I suggested it would be good to go for a festival. Classic Cocoa Goat as well. She looks awesome in this card. Like, just looks bang on. Not going to go into too much detail about how, you know... I do find it a bit strange that, like, her boobies are almost out, in a way. She's, like, bodysuited, isn't she? She's one of the bodysuit babes. There's a few of them. But, Ganyu the Cocoa Goat. And her expression of, like, slight confusion. I don't know if that's intended. But that'll be a popular card. I don't know why they included this chuffer. It's just the big chucken. You just have to kill it. It's the big green mouldy chucken. And you have to kill it. I mean, it looks interesting, the card. It's got a lot of... Like, the sweeping lines are kind of cool. Like, I think you can see that it's a big chucken, but I think you need to play Genshin and know what it is to really know what it is, because otherwise it's like, what? Is that a chucken? It is. It's a big green chucken. Ooh, that's nice. It gives you a feeling of the wind behind her. Like blowing her hair in front of her. Like a lot of feeling of wind and movement. Running here, and instead of just like... Just posed. Like actually looks like she's in movement somewhere. The little goober bear doing the fire. So an expression of mindless joy in her eyes. She's going places. The hottest chef in Leeway. Out for a run. Looks cool though. Looks cool. And finally... last but not no means least, but it's still, they've cut why have they done this? They cut her little socks off. She's famous in my eyes. Like, all this above here is the character, and then right at the end, they gave her a little pair of socks and a little pair of flip-flop shoes, and then she's stood in the water, and like the water goes above her ankles, so like her socks are soaking wet. And like no one cares, no one talks about it. And they cut it off on the cards, but I just think they need to improve her footwear. And then they did a new skin for her, and they gave her some boots. So they listened to what gamers say in Genshin Impact. You have to pay £12 in the shop for it, and I'm not doing that, but like, you can give her some boots to sort that problem out. Kamisato Ayaka. When I first started playing Genshin Impact, she was the character on the banner, and I thought, this looks good, I'll wish for that. Didn't get her. So she's on the list for if she ever comes around again. I still can't get my head around all the storyline that went on with her. I know what I did. I know that I sort of had to face down the Shogun and sort out the Vision Hunt decree. But I don't know about all the politics that was going on with her and her mates. Can't really still get my head around it. At one point there was a dog in charge of a cafe. So, you know. At that point I was just like, tell me what you want me to do. Stop confusing me. Tell me what you want me to do. I just did whatever she told me. Her and Sayu, we got it all sorted in the end. Yeah. The card looks great as well, doesn't it? A lot of... Like, the wind seems to have picked up in these last two cards. A lot of movement, a lot of wind. That's the Genshin Impact TCG. I now own it. I would improve these cards by making them better, for one. I'd print them on better cardstock. This might be a cheap, you know, I got it off Amazon, so I just thought it might be right, but it might be a cheap knockoff. I'll have to look into that. But I'd improve it by choosing better cardstock. I'd also make the cards matte. I wouldn't have them as gloss. I'd have them as a matte finish, because I think that feels like the cards like the cards when I'm playing in TCG and Genshin feel matte, even though they're on the screen and they're not real. But to me, I think they are not a glossy card. In that one, you can see that it's been bent. Kind of crease mark on it. There's the official Urkel. I am the princess of Urkel. What do you want from me? So today we've looked at the Genshin Impact TCG, which is great. Actually, now I've got this collection of cards, I feel happy about them, looking through them quickly like that. I think there's some real standout cards. I knew what they were going to look like anyway, because I knew the game, because I played the game, but I think like Coddy looks great. I think that Wet Boy was nice to have. Ningguang looked awesome. Like, I think there's some really standout good cards. I've got no purpose, don't know what to do with them. Like, you could theoretically play the game. You don't have enough cards each for a proper deck. Like, you don't have all the support cards. These are only the character cards. But theoretically, you could play. You could make your own support cards even, I guess. Like, ascribe them to cards in a deck of playing cards. And then just play. But I don't know what purpose they'd serve. Maybe we could use them as a divination deck. We could ascribe our own meanings to the... I've used ascribe twice then. Use it in a sentence. I just did a minute ago, you chuffer. Just said ascribe value. That's why I used it, because it's the right word. Do you want me to try? Okay, thesaurus. Okay. So we could attach a meaning to each of these cards. Like Coco Goat means that you're horny. Or like this one means it's time to tidy your bedroom. Or like you know, and I could do like a tarot reading by shuffling them up like that. And then you say stop or whatever, like in chat, and then you know, you get your tarot reading. So this is the past, sucrose. This means that you like experimenting and trying new things in your past, haven't found your way yet. The present is Mirror Maiden. She's a bad chuffer. You're trapped in a situation, don't know which way to turn, or you can't because I'm trapped in this chuffing Mirror Maiden ice prism. I got you trapped, and you're like, fuck off. And then if you've got Rosie on your team, Scott's top tip, if you've got Rose Aria, when she traps you, you can just use your special move and get out of it. You just fly out of it. Anyone with a good movement move can get out of that trap. But yeah, she's a bad chuffer and she got you trapped. That's the story of this card. So the present is you're trapped in a situation you don't want to be in. And then the future, your future card is Benny. So things ain't looking up. Benny's adventure team assemble. You're destined to be alone. You're good at, in the future, you support people, but aren't the main you're not the main DPS in your own gang. Which is a bit of a shitter. So we could do that with them. I could just like make up a reason that they exist. Sometimes we can look at them. I need to find a reason for them now to own them. Sometimes I can look at them. We can use them for different purposes, can't we? We can use them for like, maybe on stream sometimes I can say, right then, we can do it like your card, my card, right? Like this, look, I'll shuffle it up. We can play, like we can use it to set arguments. This is your card. Oh, you got Chong Yun. Oh, lucky you. Chong Yun, oh, that's cool. This is my card though. So, I don't know what that means. Don't know how they react to each other. They don't, really. There's no interaction. This is your card. Oh, you got Kaching. She's pretty good. Yeah, but this is my card. So, I don't know how they react to each other. The other thing that we could do is this. There's no Klee in this. There's no Klee. I've got Benny and no Klee. The other thing we can do is this. Oh, hello, Benny. How are you, Benny? Oh, Benny Adventure Team Assemble. What? I'm going to trap you in my crystal prism. Psh. That's bad. I don't like that. Here. Psh. Psh. Here. Psh. Here. Psh. I need to get one of them where I know then their special move. Hang on. Where's he gone? Where's my wet boy? He's the only card I like, the wet boy, and I've lost it. There he is. Raincutter. Psh. That was worth it. Boba, get them. Here. No, my sword. No, he goes, no, my sword. No, my sword. Psh. And then this one goes, she goes, don't blink. Psh. Successful stream, if you reckon. Obviously, these tarot cards are jealous that I suggested that we use these cards as a divination deck, because the tarot cards are like, hang on, we're the tarot cards. Like, we're the actual tarot cards. You need to use us for a divination deck. We're the main ones. Yeah. You should have all come in the same box then, shouldn't you? You fucking greedy bastards. I've had to buy 3 decks of cards there. Like, the amount of money I spent on these cards, actually, when I think about it, I think, as a streamer, I'm happy I've got the cards and we've done this episode. As a human being, I'm wondering if I might have maybe should have saved the money and not bought the cards. I don't know. The tarot we'll get more use out of, I guess. And they weren't that expensive, but they are nice. I'll get them out again in the future. If they were bigger, I could put them on, like, display in some way. But because they're just so, like, card-sized, it's harder to decide what to do with them, isn't it? You don't want lots of little pictures up on your walls, do you? That'd be a bit weird. Maybe you could tell me in chat what you would do with some cards. Not in chat, in... Like, I realise that people aren't popping off in chat because it's like, what time is it? It's nearly midnight. And I'm on a random evening stream looking at some cards on Genshin Impact stream. But in the video, I'm quite tired as well. In the video, you know what I mean, the video. If you're watching this on video, on YouTube, on video cassette, on your phone or whatever, tell me in the tips, there's a Freudian slip. Because I was reading here, it says on my thing, Lancashire Police sent tippies. Tell me in the comments, that's the one, not chat, not tips, comments, what you think I should do with these cards now that I own them.